Hello everybody and welcome back to FantasyFootballFix.com. My name is FPL Phillips or Eddie, and today I'm bringing you once again my latest installment of my series, Eddie versus the Algorithm. And this is of course the series where I take on the computer generated team every single game week of the season and then see if I can put together an 11 of my own for that specific game week on a free hit to try and beat it 4 points for that week. Now it's been very close and we're getting towards the last couple game weeks of the season, so it's everything to play for right now. And then before we get into the big double game week 36, which I'm sure you're very excited to see the free hit team reveals for from the algorithm and myself, we need to have a little bit of a quick recap of how we both got on in game week 35. And here is how the algorithm got on for game week 35 with quite a respectable 61 points scored by the algorithm, and it really was carried by a number of players, namely Heung-min Son, of course, who scored a massive 19-point haul in that game for Spurs towards the back end of the game week, and also a couple of the defenders, namely Ruben Diaz scoring that massive 12-pointer, but also the fact that Man City and Aston Villa both picked up clean sheets massively helped the algorithm carry it towards that big points total. So where it didn't matter that Mohamed Salah captaincy disappointed, Kevin De Bruyne getting a 0-pointer, of course Mateta coming in for that, even Josh Brownhill on the bench with a 10-pointer nearly made it into the starting 11 in the end, who outscored the likes of Pukki, Coutinho, even the majority of the team with that 10-pointer that no one saw coming. But yeah, not a bad score from the algorithm at all, once again, carried really by that Son appearance, and well done if you did captain Heung-min Son, of course a very standout option for that week, and hopefully you scored very well if you did do that. But I hope you had a good game week 35 anyway. Did I beat the algorithm this week? Well, if you can remember what my team was looking like from the last episode we did, then you might already have an idea. But let's move in and see how Eddie did for game week 35. And here's how Eddie's team got on, and only a very measly 46 points means the algorithm goes 18-17 up in the series as we approach the last 3 final game weeks of the season. Really, as I mentioned, it was Son and Diaz who I was missing out on that managed to score the algorithm a big set of points. If I'd had that Son 19-pointer in, I probably would have won. I did make the right call with taking the armband off Mohamed Salah, not entirely for the correct reasons, I'll be honest, but I just ended up going with the wrong Spurs attacker, with Kane only grabbing that one single goal, which was indeed from a Son assist as well. A few clean sheets at the back, and Alanga's 6 points off the bench took us up to 46 points, but a very poor score for what should be the levels we're looking for with these free hit teams every week. So the algorithm beats me. I've got some work to do in game week 36, so let's move into and have a look at what the algorithm's lining up with for this double game week. Okay then, this is the big one, the algorithm team reveal for double game week 36, and a massive, if you've already spotted it, projected points total of 133 for this upcoming game week. A huge score in favour of the algorithm if you're deciding you're perhaps on a free hit and looking to go for a team like this yourself. But I am assuming with some midweek Champions League drama and a few other things in play that the algorithm computer generated team might not be taking a little few things into account if it hasn't had time to update, etc. But we'll be seeing that, if we can, in the near future, updated on the site nearer to the deadline, where you can always check the latest algorithm projected team if you look at that using the Assistant Manager tool. Link is in the description as always. So in goal for the algorithm this week, it is going to be Kasper Schmeichel of Leicester, who seems the only real Leicester player who is not prone to that rotation. Facing Norwich and Everton, 2 nice home games against struggling teams, I think could be a fantastic goalkeeper picks this week. It's between him and Ramsdale if you were asking me to go for one of those two. I think I would probably just about edge it towards Schmeichel, but you'll be seeing who my picks are in just a second, so you'll have to hold off with regards to that for the rest of the team. In defence, it is going to be a humongous back 5 with some very nice premium assets. Both Liverpool fullbacks come into the side with Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, the 2 most expensive Liverpool defenders, alongside both Chelsea wingbacks in Alonso and Reece James, and then Ruben Diaz rounding off the back 5. I think it's a very interesting tactic to go with a back 5 this week. I don't think it's a bad strategy at all, even to play it big at the back towards the back end of the season in total. I think there could be some heavy Chelsea rotation, which is the main problem that strikes me with Alonso and Reece James. Robertson, has also been a couple of rumours that Tsimikas could be starting one of the games in the double as well, but I personally would be much more worried about the Chelsea defenders and less worried about Robertson. I'm pretty confident that Robertson should have a better chance of starting both of those games, and I wouldn't be too concerned about Tsimikas and wouldn't be in any rush to remove Robertson, basically, if you already own him. Ruben Diaz looks like a pretty decent Man City option to go for. I think that Cancelo, to be honest, is nailed enough that I would probably go for him, but we've seen just last week how well Ruben Diaz can do in terms of getting attacking returns as well. So going for Ruben Diaz, certainly not a bad pick, and the algorithm does seem to like him a lot. In midfield, then, it's going to be a midfield 4, so a 5-4-1 for the algorithm this week, with once again some big names, Mohamed Salah and De Bruyne, despite scoring a combined total of 1 point last week, both keeping their places in the algorithm side for those lovely fixtures that we've seen. Liverpool facing Villa and Tottenham, and Man City going up against Newcastle and Wolverhampton Wanderers. Then there's Bukayo Saka, who just seems in too good a form to drop, to be honest, and I'm sure if Heung-min Son could have been afforded, he would have been in this side as well, despite Spurs' arguably tougher fixtures. And then finally Mason Mount, who, as I mentioned, I probably would be a little bit more concerned about, with Chelsea looking at some mass rotation in this double game week. I can only really see Alonso, James and Mount potentially only starting 3 games between them, so 1 game each realistically when it comes down to it. But then again, we could be surprised. It's always good to wait for the press conferences nearer the deadline before making your moves. In that regard, we may get some knowledge from Tuchel that could help us out. And then finally, up front, the lone forward this week is going to be Timu Pukki, who I had in my side last week and did let me down a bit. He's not been returning as much in the last couple of game weeks, but before that, on some decent form, grabbing a goal when Norwich do manage to put the ball in the back of the net, with some fixtures against West Ham United and Leicester. So although he's going up against the goalkeeper in Kasper Schmeichel, you're probably looking like unlikely from coming away from that game with something, either a Schmeichel clean sheet or a Pukki goal. Fingers crossed that Billy Gilmore doesn't now go and bag a hat-trick. He sat on the algorithm's bench alongside Dennis, Mateta and Foster in goal. But once again, a massive 133-point score, but a few little things I'm a little concerned about. You'll see how those are different in my team that I put together this week. So without further ado, let's get into having a look at Eddie's 11 for Game Week 36. But before we get into that, however, I do need to put the captaincy armband on. Stupidly forgot. Apologies for that. But the captaincy armband will be on Mohamed Salah. Pretty obvious this week, if you own him, to stick the armband on him. There was a case, I believe, for Kevin De Bruyne before. We've been seeing recently that his minutes have been managed quite a lot. We're yet to see what Pep has said with regards to why he was subbed early in the Champions League. If you were watching that game, then you've seen a hell of a game of football in midweek. But Kevin De Bruyne didn't feature for a lot of it. Subbed early, whether that was tactical or whether that was an injury. It looks almost certain that Pep will probably say he's had some kind of knock or something, even if he doesn't. He doesn't seem to be the most truthful with his press conferences, so I wouldn't take what Pep's word is for too much, but then again, I don't think it's worth sticking the armband over on Kevin De Bruyne right now, when Mohamed Salah has got a double game week and is just in that kind of form where you have to really captain him. He's come out in some interviews and said some quotes that are looking like he wants to go out and bag more goals as well, so hopefully he can do that for those who do captain him in Game Week 36 with those games, as I mentioned, against Villa and Tottenham. His effective ownership was estimated, I think, around 150, 160% anyway, so if you're looking to play it safe and go with the captaincy option, who is going to not lose you any rank at all and even gain you a little bit, he could come out with a huge score, and that will actually end up gaining you quite a significant amount if you're captaining him at that EO. So yeah, going for Salah just seems an all-round very sensible and very down and nailed pick to start for both those games, and then also grabbing some attacking returns, as we know the Egyptian king can do. So here is my side that I'm playing and putting out there to take on the algorithm for Game Week 36, and you might have been able to spot already a few of the differences between my teams and the algorithm side for this game week. The defense overall isn't saying that similar, even though it might look exactly like it. 3 of the 5 players remain the same, with Schmeichel, Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold. However, I have got rid of Diaz, James and Alonso. However, Alonso is just being dropped down onto the bench. Cancelo's come in for Ruben Diaz for obvious reasons, really, at this point. I seem to have to explain every week, and then most weeks Diaz seems to end up outscoring Cancelo, but I do think that Cancelo, on the whole, will outscore Diaz most weeks, including, hopefully, this one. Tavares is the other one who comes in, and a 4.3 million defender looks an absolute steal, if you ask me, when he looks like he'll be starting both games against Leeds and Tottenham for Arsenal in this double game week. Very low ownership as well, so if you're looking for a differential who's also priced very, very cheap, might not have the absolute best underlying data, of course, at that price, but still looks a very nice option to go for. I'm more looking forward to that Leeds game. Tottenham, I'm not expecting a clean sheet there, but maybe he can get forward and grab something. You never know, those North London derbies are always very exciting and can be very open in terms of goals. In the midfield, we've got one noticeable addition in Anthony Gordon coming in. De Bruyne, Salah and Saka all remain the same, but I wanted to bring in a Toffees midfielder in Gordon, who is priced very low as well at only 4.6 million, and also with a very low ownership. Looks like a great asset to go for against Leicester and Watford, both away games, but still Everton looking a lot better recently, and I think he is my favourite pick to go for if you're looking for a cheap midfielder over the likes of Ramsey and perhaps Dewsbury Hall, who is sat down there on my bench at second sub. And then up front, we've chucked Timu Pukki out the door, as with Mateta and Dennis, who were sat on the algorithm bench, and I've gone with Nketiah and Richarlison instead, completing an Arsenal triple up and a double up of Everton players as well. I wanted to go for Nketiah just because, once again, I think he'll start both games. I'm excited with the Arsenal assets in those two matches that they do have this week, and with Man City looking likely to rotate, the same with Chelsea, who are pretty much going to end up as single game week players for most of their assets. Going for players from teams like Arsenal and Everton could be a little bit of a differential this week when they're not very highly owned and you're on a free hit. So that gives me a pretty lousy comparison to the algorithm. 112 predicted points compares to what was the algorithm's 133. But either way, a pretty nice looking score when you look at that when you're not on a bench boost for a specific game week. But yeah, we are pretty much ending up on double fixtures for this week, with 11 double game week players making it into the starting 11 and a lot on the bench as well. So that is going to wrap up Eddie versus the algorithm for another week. Let me know down below in the comments, as always, who you're looking towards for the win. Is it going to be the algorithm, or do you think myself is going to take the victory for this game week of the season? Are you playing any chips this week as well? Let me know down below in the comments. If you're playing the free hit, is your team looking any similar? And if you're bench boosting, who have you got down there on the bench? Mine personally will probably be playing the triple captaincy this week. I still have it left over, and that armband will probably be going on Mohamed Salah, as it is with myself and the algorithm in this series. So if you're not captaining the Egyptian King, are you captaining someone else? As I mentioned with De Bruyne, a bit of a risk there, but I was looking at him earlier on. Are you taking a punt, or are you playing it safe towards the back end of the season? I'm interested to hear, and as I mentioned, I try to reply to every single comment, so feel free to leave them down below. I'm always up for a discussion. I'll catch you later. Best of luck for Game Week 36, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.